This meditation is called the awareness meditation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly lay out where I see awareness kind of fitting into the schema of our information. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the meditation out loud. I think this is a meditation that would be wise for you to record in your own voice, and then to let it kind of play in the background as you lie there. If you could get it on a loop even, that would be ideal, because this is one that's really just about kind of expanding our mind, expanding our conceptuality of who and what we are, and allowing ourselves to rest in that space, right? Some other meditation techniques, we're trying to kind of train a certain aspect of mind or bring our focus into a certain area. This one is really about kind of blowing the doors off, right? Even gently or gradually, and allowing ourselves to rest in kind of a thoughtless, open awareness space. And so the language I have here is designed to try to do that. You could use the recording that I'm going to make right here for it. You could isolate the sound, but I think really it will work best in your own voice, because then you'll get more internal resonance, and I think it'll have a more lasting impact. So let me just briefly lay out a schema here I have. What I have here essentially kind of is modeled on an eyeball. Is this I see as kind of the lens of attention. This squiggly line here represents kind of the field of thought, the stream of thought. And then this kind of concave receiving back part here, maybe kind of akin to the retina in the eye, is what I'm going to use to model awareness. So in the lens of attention, right, which again is kind of convex facing outward, through the lens of attention, what we do is we direct our focused awareness onto certain parts of our environment or experience, right? Down at the page of the book we're reading, out onto the road when we're driving, onto the face of the person we're talking to. And the lens of attention, especially if we're getting kind of stressed or caught up in the moment, can tend to be kind of twitchy and fast, right? Jumping around, trying to look at multiple things at once, trying to juggle multiple things at once. And so when that happens, we tend to get stressed, right? If we're caught up in the lens of attention, if we're identifying with that dancing eye of attention, we tend to get kind of fatigued and scattered and worn out, because our eye, again, especially if our mind is stressed, is going to be constantly scanning our environment for threats and opportunities and things like that. And so if we're going with that every which way, we're constantly kind of caught in that dance of attention, we're naturally going to become kind of scattered and wobbly and robotic. Likewise, the dance of thought, right? Behind the dance of attention, right? Which again kind of happens at the level of our sense organs moving around trying to kind of gauge our environment. Inside, we have constant thought chatter, right? Can be words, can be sentences, can be images, can be kind of like gut feelings about things. I know sometimes I'll see in my mind's eye almost kind of these mythic representations of what's happening. Oh, this is like a heroic moment. Oh, this is a huge showdown or a drama. Oh, this connects to that, right? Trying to kind of generate a sense of importance or drama and things. The thought stream will constantly be pointing in all these different directions, into the past, into the future, into imagined alternative present, into downright fantasy, right? And if we're following the mind, right, everywhere it's pointing, right? If we're following this thought stream in all those different directions, right, just as the dance of attention had us scattered, kind of frenetic, right, kind of almost kind of stroby and pulsy. If we're following the thought stream and if we're kind of identifying as our thoughts, we're going to notice that we become scattered and all over the place and kind of detached from reality, similar to the way thoughts are. So what I invite us to do is in this meditation, let's recognize the dance of attention happening, right? Notice our mind, notice our eyes especially, but really kind of our entire bodies feeling kind of tense and on edge and trying to kind of feel out into our environment to gauge what's going on, right? We don't fight it. We don't argue with it. We don't hate it. We just notice it, right? And then see if we fall back a little bit, we notice, right, the stream of thoughts, right? Trying to point us in this direction. Think about this, worry about this, plan for this. Hey, remember this. Hey, what about that, right? Oh, but what about this? Hey, what if, right? Kind of like a, it could be entertaining seeming, right? It also is kind of nuts and crazy and not always tied to what's going on in our actual life at that moment. So again, don't fight it, don't hate it, don't argue with it. Again, that's just more thought on thought on thought. Just notice it. Begin to notice it. Notice when you're getting caught up in it. And as you notice when you're getting caught up in it, you will naturally release it. Right? The tricky part is we naturally, because we're kind of addicted, we'll just get caught up again. And that becomes frustrating to the ego to have to let go again and again and again, right? The ego wants to master things quickly, or at least convince itself it's mastered things quickly. So it thinks, okay, well, I've noticed the dance of attention 4 times now. I've noticed myself getting caught in mind 9 times. How much more is this going to take? Notice that stop. Let it go. I let it go. Because what we're trying to do here is to sink back into the field of awareness, which is a field of awareness that encompasses these two and is more than them. So the field of awareness is receiving all the information from the dance of attention, right? It's kind of sitting behind the dance of attention, noticing not just what the dance of attention is noticing, right? Which is, oh, that tree over there, oh, that person over there, oh, this funny sensation in my ear, right? It's noticing those things. It's also noticing the sequence of those things occurring, right? So it's not fixated on any one piece. And it's noticing behind all that, okay, I'm a human being. Okay, it's 3 p.m., right? It has kind of a situational awareness beyond the kind of tightened lens of the dance of attention. That's how you kind of notice when you're getting back into awareness, is you have an awareness that seems kind of meta or beyond just what you're dialed in on that moment. That works for the dance of attention. It also works for the dance of thought, right? This dance of thought will have us situated, again, 20 years in the past. We'll be thinking about something that was happening in school, right? Or we'll be thinking about a future, a vacation that's coming up, something that's going on at work that we're dreading, right? The dance of awareness, or excuse me, the field of awareness, sees that and also contextualizes that that is actually a thought occurring in a mind, projecting something into the future, but that's not right now, right? And this is kind of our anchor to sanity. If we're caught up in the dance of these two, we can get pulled in all kinds of different directions, start believing and fixating on all kinds of things, which in our right mind, I think this is kind of our right mind back here, we know isn't really good for us, isn't really helping. But when we're just kind of being pinballed around in our attention or in our thoughts, it's really easy to kind of lose sight of ourselves, to forget that bigger picture, and to forget that this is actually a state in which we can operate. This is a state in which we can engage the world. This is not a detached, removed state. Again, it incorporates these two, but it doesn't get us caught up and fixated in their stories, right? It doesn't get us dialed in on what they're focusing in a moment. It's aware that that focus is one small bit of information in a much larger field of awareness. And so instead of chasing these thoughts or chasing these objects of attention around and running ourselves ragged, it's able to kind of notice ourselves doing that, relax, contextualize it, and get back to a more centered and open state where we can then decide, do I really want to be thinking about that thing at work that's going to happen 3 weeks from now, which may not really happen or may be easier than I think it is? Do I really want to be worrying about it again? Or do I kind of want to let it go right now? Right? At least hit snooze on that alarm and not fixate on it right now, because it's not really feeling good. It's not really doing much for me. This open field of awareness is where we have the wherewithal to do that, right? And again, it requires some noticing and it requires some letting go to get into that state and to remain in that state. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read this line, and again, feel free to read it for yourself. Awareness is what we always are. Walking, puzzling, dreaming, reading. Awareness is the stillness, encompassing and infusing motion. Awareness, like a movie screen, portrays motion motionlessly, retaining no impression. Awareness, like ocean, containing and filling and sustaining so much, so full of color and pattern, and utterly clear. Be like a fish of awareness, amidst lures of motion and the persistence of breathing. Be awareness, what you've never stopped being. You are clarity, that is peace.